Good evening. The empire I was born in went on trial in the High Court this week. Not the empire that at its height controlled 3/4 of the planet and ruled over 1/4 of its people, but the empire that had lost its power and its purpose in 2 world wars, was struggling against the burgeoning nationalism of its subjects and would soon give it all up in a headlong rush to decolonise. 3 frail and elderly Kenyans are claiming they were tortured, one says he was castrated, in one of the last imperial campaigns against the murderous Mau Mau rebellion in the 1950s. In court this week, the government finally accepted they had been ill-treated while in British custody. It was a dirty war on both sides. The British hanged more than 1,000 terrorists and detained tens of thousands of suspects who seemed, according to reports half suppressed at the time, and truckloads of official documents only uncovered recently, to have been systematically and brutally ill-treated. The Foreign Office has done all it can to prevent the trial taking place, and even now is arguing it's too long ago for the evidence to be reliable. It's a focused legal argument over stories of torture, mutilation and death, but the issues and the implications are wider than that. Is it right to make moral judgments about the past through the prism of our modern sensibilities? Should we be held responsible for the sins of empire? And if so, where should it stop? That's our moral maze tonight. The panel, Melanie Phillips, social commentator on the Daily Mail, Anne McElroy, public policy editor of The Economist, the Catholic writer Clifford Longley, and Matthew Taylor, formerly Tony Blair's chief political advisor, now chief executive at the RSA. Melanie, these poor people, they get damages, but is historical justice being served?
Well, I think it's very important to bring to justice the actual perpetrators of atrocities or war crimes, but I think it's a very different matter if courts are being used, as I think they are in this case, as a kind of propaganda exercise against colonialism.
Matthew Taylor.
I think there's a danger in using history as a political football, or crudely describing today's problems as non-past events, but I also believe that those who suffered oppression have the right to a hearing and a relevant compensation, and also that if we fail to learn from the mistakes of the past, we're more likely to repeat them.
Anne McElroy?
Well, there might well be a right to compensation in this case where the evidence is pretty clear, but I think in general the attempt to deal with the colonial period through the judicial system isn't the right way to go. It tends to be about political responses and versions in the present rather than clarity about the past.
Good.
I don't see any problem with doing the right thing, even though it's extremely late in the day, but nevertheless an injustice was committed and it can be corrected, and therefore should be. The broader question of whether this should become a kind of symbolic moment, I don't think really ought to apply. That might even get in the way of justice being done, and that's important from the Council.
Well, thanks very much, Peter. First witness is Esther Stanford-Hosai, who's a community advocate and reparationist. I was tempted to ask you what a reparationist is, but I'm going to ask you the broader question. You've been in court, actually, haven't you, on what you was here. What's going on here? Is this a case for damages or a moral inquest?
It's actually a case for damages as a result of the torture that the 3 claimants who are surviving experienced. The solicitors for the claimants, in terms of their public strategy, their public relations strategy, have made it very clear this is not a colonial reparations case. It is a very specific case. It has a very specific context. There are very specific victims. Of course, it does have a wider kind of interest to all of us here today.
And from your point of view, even if this hearing itself, or the damages claimed by these 3 individuals, should it be the occasion for examining the colonial legacy?
Most definitely. In fact, some of us would argue the case doesn't go far enough because the colonial context is absent, and without recognising colonialism, it's very hard to understand what actually took place.
So, as I understand it, you said 2 things. You said it was quite specific, as you really bit as a non-specific legal trial with evidence that could be weighed at damages, which then but then you also said that it's more broadly about colonialism. And surely that requires a very different approach. So what would justice look like to you?
Justice to me would be multifaceted. Of course, there is value in specific cases. We have to acknowledge that there are survivors who have never experienced any form of recompense. These are elderly victims. They do need to be compensated for the crimes that were committed against them. However, we must not lose sight of the fact that they represent a class of people, and there are many other survivors who do not currently have access to justice.
So it took place in the colonial era. we also know that there were atrocities on both sides, including in this big group of people that you've just referred to. So would you be also happy for them to face trial for atrocities committed against white settlers and against British service personnel at the time?
Okay. How I would answer that is I would look at the context of war liberation. And actually, it was an unjust war that was being levelled against the Africans. They were dispossessed of their land, which began formally in terms of the carving out of Africa. So unless we look at this broader context...
So in that sense, it happened at that time, you cannot commit a crime against those committed in...
No, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is we cannot, take away the fact that these were people who were simply fighting to reclaim their lost lands, and it was a freedom struggle. And there is
in terms of moral responsibility, is pretty much anything allowed to them because it was a struggle of liberation.
Yes, it was a struggle of liberation, and I would refute the notion that these were terrorists. I think that was a label that was given to them, and it was a label that was very loaded. And of course, when you classify people as terrorists, then what you're doing is you're seeking to dehumanise them.
So guilt must always then be on the side of colonial.
We have to go to the roots of this problem. We don't look at it halfway through.
So it's not really about these two people at all. It's a symbolic case to open the wide.
For some people it is. And of course, for me, it actually is very significant because it means that we are forced to engage in this conversation. We are forced to do the analysis.
Actually, the analysis I want to come to next, because this kind of blanket entitlement to judicial pressure, things that happened in the past, is usually reserved for criminal regimes like the Iraq. Is it not the case that you're stretching the definition in order to make the British Empire fit into that?
Well, actually, speak to those who are survivors. They did see this as being like under the Third Reich.
Do you think that?
Yes, I certainly do.
You say that there are, in this case, obviously very specific victims. Isn't the problem, though, that there are not very specific perpetrators? Why should the present government of Britain be held responsible for responsibility for these atrocities of its predecessor administration many decades ago?
I disagree that there's not specific victims. Obviously, we cannot, for legal reasons, go into identifying individuals. Why the current government of today should be held liable is because there is an outstanding crime that has been committed. These were not only, crimes of torture, there were war crimes committed, there were crimes against humanity. My understanding of international law is that there is no statute of limitations. I think it would be totally different if the survivors had all died, but actually you have living victims.
I understand you, of course there were living victims, and no one denied that they were treated in an appalling way, but you have just muddled up civil and criminal cases. There's no statute of limitations for murder. This is my point. If there are specific perpetrators, if you have a tyrant, if you have a group of military officers who are accused of committing a war crime, then for sure there should be no statute of limitations in prosecuting them. You have a specific perpetrator. But here you don't have specific perpetrators. What's happening in this case is not the prosecution of a crime, it is a claim for compensation against the present government, which had no responsibility for what happened. Isn't that a source of injustice?
Definitely not. They do bear responsibility because those liabilities actually transfer back to the British government. Certainly that would not be the British government's view, but that would be the view of the claimants and their representatives, and also the current government view.
You say you want to set the record straight, and the context is very important. Can I just come back to this point that Alan was asking about, because it does strike me that you are right to say that the context is colonial. But on the context for the atrocities being carried out, having been carried out by agents of the British government at the time, the context was the atrocities being carried out against them by a man. Why are you being so selective about your context? It's only for you colonialism is on trial here. Not the behaviour of the insurgents.
Yes. No, actually that's not correct. That's not what I phrased it. We're looking at this case in a multiple
They should face
It's a specific case, so I was also thinking why the importance of this case. And we have to look at it in that way. So in wider context, I actually go back to what I said in the beginning. It is the colonial dispossession. And so yes, there was insurgents, as you call them, we would say freedom fighters. And they did what they had to do in order to maintain the liberation struggle. And that is not something that is foreign to British history.
And next one, Mrs. Lawrence James, who's historian of the South Wars, British campaigns in Africa. 18th century to 1920, an imperial rearguard, the last wars of empires. What do you think is going on here? If there is an element, if you like, of retrospective moral judgment, are there problems with it?
I always have a problem in judging the past by our values. It seems to be a mixture of arrogance and
I don't see really what the problem is here. There are three people who don't seem very likely suffered. They suffered in the context of imprisonment, possibly. The way they suffered was a crime. They have the opportunity now to try to seek justice. The closest they can get to the people who actually committed this is the British state, and they're pursuing their case. What's wrong with it?
Well, there are two things here. First of all, there are three people seeking legal damages for injuries suffered 60 years ago. And they may make a good case for this. And certainly, on those in the background, this sort of thing certainly happened in Kenya. It's been known about for 30 years. Churchill was told about it, reduced to tears. So they have, there's one of the
there should be no statute of limitations.
and there's a
The
second
reason against this. The
what's
living
the
victim
second?
is the reason against this, yeah.
Is it?
And then, like Philip says, well, you're modeling up civil and criminal. These two together are
something that is
reason
at
against
the heart
this.
of the internal system.
Well, but in terms of the case of these individuals, do you accept that they have a perfect right to pursue the claim that they are making, and it is reasonable for the British state, even though today's politicians have implications, the British state to be answerable for the actions of the British state in the past. In this specific case, I'll turn in a moment to the white question empire, but in this specific case.
Well, the judiciary have ruled that they have the right to make this case, and they are proceeding with it. There is another legal principle, which you touched on, of how much do we have a legal responsibility for the actions of the past? I mean, does Mr. Cameron have to answer for the decisions of this Lord Palmerston?
In defense, given what they went through, that as the closest they can get to the people who perpetrated this is a British state. Indeed, the British state benefited from colonialism in a whole variety of ways. We're probably going to be rich in the way we are in Britain today. It wasn't colonialism, but it's reasonable that they should seek recompense from the British state. Otherwise, they have nowhere to go. Otherwise, they're simply saying, well, the people who did this to you, your justice is on our own.
Well, leaving aside their legal case, which is a legal one, let's turn to colonialism. I think colonialism
rich countries in the West occupying countries of other people and imposing their rule, and generally speaking, extracting various forms of wealth from those countries to benefit the host country.
Indeism is an ideology. Very often, grandfathers desperately poor themselves. I mean, let's get rid of the rich and the poor. Let us say a number of European states, and the United States, obtained the government, of large areas in the 19th century, and they had colonies. They didn't have any colonies, they had variety of colonies.
Lots of things happened during the colonial war. That's not my point. The point I'm discussing is this. if things that
Can I give us 7.4 and 7.7? That's
crimes, is it
You take it
legitimate
from-
for people today who are victims of those
From my
crimes
seat.
to use the vehicles
Oh, wait, that's-
for those citizens them to see it recognised?
Well, in
Sorry,
the
it's from 88. Try and take it from 88. But actually, yours.
Why you're saying we mustn't touch the point for the standards. I mean, you're a historian of this period, you know very well that even in by the standards of 1959, 1960, Charles Murdoch was committed by British servicemen against prisoners. And that's a crime there.
So it was, and the details of these outrages was there in London, the colonial office, Churchill
Yes,
had
so
a
it
spirit.
says,
Sorry,
is it reasonable that
business
the nation seek compensation from the current British state? There's an answer to this. Let's get ready to know what the answer is. This
These
one
crimes were
is the
committed,
current government.
and I think it's extraordinarily regrettable that the
Well, no,
military
this is just a bit of
did not punish those responsible. The few were.
You read this one?
Yeah,
This one
he
is
didn't
for the current
No,
government.
he was in a state of paranoia and panic.
And then
Had the secondary governor, the local commander found him
how much,
hopeless.
sorry,
In this confusion, these crimes were
So can we go through it? Through the big form
Yes.
Right, and therefore that debt has never been settled.
and then
A crime is not a debt. I mean, punishment has not been inflicted.
that's one of the Alright,
That's
nowhere
one
to go,
question.
nowhere to go.
Court martial would not inflict punishment, probably combat. And then there's a second question. A debt is legal redress from civil laws, which has been sorted out. That's something like
Isn't our whole posture in Africa at the time that we were a civilized country and we got into a civilized way?
Indeed.
And here's an example of us behaving in the extreme
It was a ghastly aberration.
Well, was it in fact typical? Was it in fact
Mark, are you doing anything with whether the current government should be
Not yet,
Okay, this one is also that's after 4 and 9. That's another reason
Conceived
for the MTLA.
in the context of code.
That's it.
The imperialist
No, that's a pressure different.
at the same time, in colonial
That's,
insurrection movements.
This one is the one you want to start with, Mark.
And
Sorry.
the question is in a near state of fog about what would happen there. Insurgency in
Well, it's
Malaya.
not very morally blameworthy, isn't it? I mean,
Well, I don't feel being morally blameworthy in a funk. When you're reading intelligence reports which suggest your empire is under some kind of sustained assault. We know it was.
okay, so this being a major injustice was committed, a legal remedy now exists. What's wrong with the British thing, owning up and paying?
Point we're discussing is
Well, isn't the British thing owning up? Hey, it is for the British thing
more this
legally
one, right? The
examined.
government should be held accountable.
Rationally going through the evidence and
No.
finding
Yeah.
complete, total. These people suffered injuries in such a place, in such a way, and
Yeah.
the officers who commanded them, then the judges, the lawyers would say, how far are these agents of the British state? Did the British state know of them? I think it did.
Our next witness is Lee Jasper, the former senior policy director for qualities and policing for London. Lee Jasper, is it your position that the current British government has a lot to apologise for in terms of colonialism and the ill treatment of some lands?
I think it's indeed those kind of roots to sort of modern malaise, non-inclusive notion of British citizenship, which is the relics of colonialism, racism, and the current sort of dystopia around in relation to people groping for a kind of inclusive citizenship that relieves them of the guilt of the past and also this inclusive future. Actually relying on having a truth and reconciliation movement, and saying, regardless of what the specificities of legality the moral case is absolutely unanswerable, and we ought to do the right thing.
You say that Britain is not inclusive, but I mean, relative to many other countries, surely it's an exemplar of inclusivity. For example, in contrast to say America, you don't have the kind of polarisation of black and white here, in a way you do there. So in what sense is Britain's history responsible for a lack of inclusiveness?
The British are very much, I think you raised an interesting point, because whilst the African Americans are socially segregated from their Americans, they are economically integrated. And the extent to which an African American is prepared to stand by the flag is far in advance of black British individual. And I think that proves the citizenship that we have here in the United Kingdom. It's not a case of just legality. It is a case of they have a place.
But is it your view that the history of colonialism, including the history of slavery, is responsible for racism in Britain? Is that part of your case?
Well, undoubtedly, the conception of modern contemporary notion of racism in terms of exemplified and still has relics today in our language, in our customs, in our practices. We've seen very recently the John Cherry in our court school very much of why it is.
But then how do you deal with the fact that, black countries, black people are racist? Slavery was an African time.
In the United Kingdom.
They can't be racist.
They can't be racist. They can be racially offended.
They can't be prejudiced against white people. They can't be prejudiced against.
I believe that
So what sense lack of
Sorry.
Britain is not inclusive?
Marxist.
Someone got it?
What
This connects to it as well. Because of the lack of inclusive.
Say, for example, Jews control banks. That's not prejudice.
That's racially offensive.
It's not
racism.
It's not racism.
No, because you can be convicted of being racially offensive without necessarily being a racist. I think Margaret Thatcher's daughter once made some inappropriate comments. I've heard lots of judgments of people being found guilty of.
This is all about this is a non-related, citizenship. So you need that one.
This case help in any way your argument that there's more inclusivity?
I'm not making an argument.
No.
Oh, sorry. The whole question of Britain's unresolved acknowledgement and apology and reparation for the horrific
this is them.
period of colonialism is a difficulty, a barrier towards reaching towards a more inclusive notion of British citizenship.
Because you keep visiting your particular views, you see, we might well take the view, like Lawrence James, that there is no one colonialism, very different bits of the colonial history, and that some of it was good and some of it was absolutely reprehensible. But because you want it all to be heroic and you want to marshal it to a politics of grievance.
Well, the trains run on time, but the Jewish community will still ship on time to Auschwitz, as a consequence of a fascist regime. Well, yes, in order to finance the trade and the extraction of resources, infrastructure was built, and there was some degree of benevolence. I accept that. But overall, if you ask people who've been subject to colonialism, it is an experience that is financially much poorer, psychologically degrading to their humanity.
JA saying, example is racist.
More inclusivity.
No,
what would that look like? And how could it sort of possibly follow from this very structure about how colonialism you've just given? One just seems to take you to where feeling worse about everything. How's that going to make that? Because doesn't that race today feel
It's a medieval moment. We're here on Mandela's birthday, and his leadership in relation to South Africa was one in which he sought to explore the reconcile, bring them to account effect reparation where necessary, to acknowledge the crime.
The history of colonialism is responsible for racism. Is that something you can connect to?
Well, you know how acknowledge the maltreatment of the Mama in a very stirring speech, as you know,
Thousands were made landless, homeless, and reduced to absolute poverty. And generations ago, will not be left to recover from that. An acknowledgement and reparation.
Yeah, that's what Chris needs. It's not empty, it's
requisite position. That is required from the United
Yes, absolutely.
And it brings
Okay, super, thank you.
move on to inclusive citizenship.
Especially
these historical relics of the law.
Keep it down here, because we're talking about it again.
Contemporary then frankly, it's wrong.
In the sentence lastly, do you think this particular court case might provide this Medina value?
I don't think it will. I think it'll be an important opportunity for those individuals to make their case. I hope they're successful. I don't see it as
I want to take this to Chris and connect it to
I'll ask you, this is Dr. Nick Lloyd, who's Senior Lecturer in the Defence Studies Department at King's College, the Joint Services Command Staff College. It's a defence academy, if you know. Where does moral justice lie?
Yes. Super, thank you very much.
Well, I think this is the American national reason for that proposal. Roy is imperialist get in the middle.
Well, what do you think? Do you think we've got
No, I don't think we do. I mean, I think it very much depends on the specific incident you're talking about.
The reason for this reason is
this one here.
Okay, and I think we can't.
What about this one here?
So that's a new guy coming in.
Okay.
Again, what about violence not perpetrated against?
So I say
particularly African, maybe.
British society in the 1950s, when news first came of the horrific massacre of Pola of Malmite prisoners in Kenya. And wide swathes of British public opinion and the media and the Prime Minister and most of the cabinet were absolutely horrified and discussed it then, not now, but then.
Sorry, who is that?
Mark. You don't want to throw everything. You don't want to throw everything this way because it's coming your way anyway.
Yeah, but we start to stack up.
Well, I think the key one that right, okay. You often have books, inquiries.
We need the 19.
Realised that there was no way forward except by increasing brutality. Was there wrong to think that?
Well, I think, by the 50s, the empire is going. Everyone knows it's going. And they effectively try to hand over to some kind of stable rule. Certain circumstances you have.
Are you saying that Pola, on the whole circumstances, the whole shock itself, did not change the public consciousness about ourselves as an imperial power? Realised it was morally unsustainable.
I'm not sure it does, actually. I think there are other questions about again, I think the key thing for this is the horror of the violence of the Mama, which is profoundly shocking.
So the 8,
One horror in our mouth.
Oh, no, I think there's absolutely horror in our mouth. I think, it's about let's make this way. The situation is extreme.
Just collapse it if you can.
It's 6 years before the sort of Kenya emergency. British
No, I
Army in
didn't.
India is
It's already evolved,
because
yeah.
it's not proved.
Give this to them. Give this to them. 760 as well, because everything before 760 goes 760 goes this way, because you things to do. Everything before 760 goes that way.
In a sense, we're saying that we're criticizing fire because he's used too much fire, too much water to negotiate fire. It's just a very difficult thing.
In the context of what we're talking about, the strange phenomenon then occurred after what I just described, where the British went into
You guys focus on this
It's been in our since.
Oh,
About the way in which the British Army and on behalf of the British state behaved towards people of the
No, I don't think so. We've known about these things for many years. There's nothing new. There's nothing new in Kenya and the problems we have in India and all over the empire. The end of empire is always a historical bloody thing, but I think the simply because of blame on the British first is simply absurd.
13. I can see it clearly for one people.
So it's a real contention the reason that the British are going around the world creating empires because they always wanted to call for help. I thought they mentioned about creating an empire because they wanted to extract maximum wealth from that empire. They wanted to build power, and fortunes to domestic.
So I think,
Well, where was the fire?
It's true, yeah, the is also involved.
No, but at the beginning of this process, because I'm interested in I actually see the behaviour of British troops as being equivalent to the behaviour of those people who are fighting to get their country back. So you argued that.
I'm not sure how
You said we're fine, we started the fire. Firemen don't normally start the fire, do they?
well, I mean, what starts the Mau Mau revolt? The Mau Mau revolt starts there, unless you simply say that the position is imperialism is by default villages, and that's your position. I simply don't take that. I think if you do that, you go into all these kind of moral judgments, which is quite pointless to be honest.
Let's just go back to this. Imperialism is not by default wrong. Presumably it's not by default wrong. You try and actually competition in other countries and take over.
There are good imperialisms and bad imperialisms. There are good nation states or bad nation states. Simply to
So the whole construction of international law should say that countries shouldn't just walk into another country because they fancy taking command for its people. You say get rid of that.
Well, you have in a lot of places where the British go, there is no country. There is no sovereign state. These concepts do not exist in the 17th century. It is completely misleading to try and talk about sort of mid-20th century legal terms as they apply to the 16th and 17th centuries. And I think this is where a lot of the misconceptions combine with those situations. Or you can write a king.
Let's take it rather than this is what Australia did. I was fundamentally driven by the nine motives and responses of the world, the places that we should go. Can we just I want to explore the value now of us understanding the ways in which people can behave when they're given guns and told that people are rules are subhuman and extreme. It seems to me that that kind of attitude that we see, for example, recently in Iraq. So isn't there something useful in being reminded of what happens in these circumstances?
No, I think so.
He's giving a reason against the horrors. He's saying, well, we're just releasing
under stress. People, when they're afraid, when they don't have intelligence, they don't have orders, they don't have notices, can behave in ways that we want to do, and that's human nature. That's human.
If there are people with guns and they are people shouldn't be subject to higher, not just as we expect higher behaviour, they should behave properly in authority, at least when we do it.
Degree of morality.
So there is no controversy. So you accept there is no truth.
You do the
It's different from now.
Well, I think, there's cause and effect. If you have a revolt, people being murdered, and it's the responsibility of the government to protect that down. And the question of policing the outcome is they use too much force. I'm saying that history is far too complex to make that kind of judgment. I think this is where so much of the misunderstanding about empire comes from. I think that lies at the root of this very, very sad case.
Dr. Lloyd, thank you very much. Well, the first message was pretty clear that this was a case about doing this obviously it's a pretty grim story, it's really at the centre of the case. She didn't like the word terrorism.
Oh, sorry. No, I better do that.
People involved in the war of liberation or freedom struggle did anything to our support, but the people who don't did.
There is rules even in the liberation certificate. You look at the principle of war. You're an armed army, for example, who attacks innocent civilians, exactly what the man did. So I don't think that moral defence of
the MD
liberation is right.
talks about the violence.
Yes, the BBC is
And this is written yes, an enemy to say criticise the fire. I think we do anything wrong, they had to do something against the rebellion. No, not yet. That's about the firemen.
It's not across.
If you are.
Intrigued, you can get rid of it. We know what it's all about. Get rid of it.
Behaviour of those who
He's just intrigued by something we know.
with the same pressure.
So is it your contention question? Give that.
Is that central one posable?
No, yeah, because it's about, well, almost like, what you can do is this.
Well, I think
Give
the
the loose bits to them.
SSA and also the just
Those bits.
following the proposition that was a one-way justice that should operate. So from 3 weeks to 30, it could be but it's sort of almost kind of infantilise it, more or less infantilising going on there.
So they're talking about this. Yes, I'm fine. Especially should have done something because
towards the
responsibility for next one. So
idea.
what they're saying here, Muslims' responsibility to protect the African people in Ghana, Kenya.
About these three-point editorial good case because people wanted to do too much with it.
But the first one, the third witness didn't seem to draw much distinction between the British Empire and the Third Reich.
No, and that was clearly absurd and offensive. I think to be fair, you were saying that atrocities that justice should be done regardless of time. But again, I think the point made by Lawrence James was that it was very regrettable in the case of Kenya that the perpetrators of the Hola massacre and other atrocities were not prosecuted at the time. But the point is that now, and this was the point I was trying to get to with Esther Huzai, that we don't have the perpetrators in
Just as you're about to
crimes committed against unfortunate people. They are seeking civilian reparations. And the question is, why should they seek reparations against the government which had not and if you agree that people should be able to seek civilian reparations, then there's no end to it. There are all kinds of people who've been dispossessed throughout history.
And I would say there is both a pragmatic and a historic justification. Pragmatic if they are to take their case against anybody, this state, the British state now, is the closest they can get to it. They can't go back and dig up Macmillan and second, historically, this country benefited and has continued to benefit and still benefits today from the extraction which it took from the British Empire.
So this is revenge for the benefit.
It would be okay under these circumstances for a sale.
So this is in conflict with someone needs to answer this.
Well, I think that the recognition, just this is a very interesting point, the recognition, you do but also the recognition in Germany of their responsibility for much more unambiguous. I think what's interesting tonight is when you hear Lawrence James, who's the second witness, he doesn't really like this case because he wants to muddy the water. He wants to hang up Britain Scott. I think when you see these connected in, what it comes down to is all is going to Britain saying, well, no, it wasn't so bad after all. And that's precisely the point Esther stands for. The reason we need these cases is because of
the difference is that this was an aberration. I wouldn't go as far as Lawrence James would say this was an aberration and that the empire, nothing horrible was done under the empire. I think a lot of bad things were done under the empire. But basically, bad things done under the empire were an aberration. The empire was all about good things. But then there was good things. That's the great debate. The empire and nothing good happened under Nazism. It was in essence a tyranny. And therefore the country was responsible for what happened in a way that Britain is not responsible collectively in the
We've
same
got a new entity saying Britain did not fundamentally wrong. That's a new kind of making
Time to make moral judgments about the past.
We've got a new entity saying Britain did not do anything wrong. They're talking about whether the empire was bad or good.
Yeah,
And go against it if you're not. There's no time.
what a crime is now, were very much crimes. that distance in
Yeah, I
moral
think
terms.
that is interesting. I mean, I think that is a good case, and something that I do take very seriously. And then we do look back to the fact that people were making stones which is about at the time. That rather plays against Matthew's point that this is
So when they say,
colonialism,
saying, well, you should
calling it, is in some ways all about the extraction of wealth and exploitation.
have
I
a
feel
higher,
that's sorry, but that's your opinion, and I think it's a very, very partial view of history. So let's not do
So he's saying
things now, but
anything wrong.
to come back to what Michael asked, it is a very partial view. And obviously the answer of why there was such outrage, but actually it is such an explosion of being why was there such outrage. So that's, yes, it is a very good point. And also I think it speaks well for the case that is being brought up. It speaks so well for broadly enough with everything else.
Generally, what I'm saying was that for the justice view that some form of Medieval, some form of reconciliation, some form of acknowledgement of the sins of the past, it is something that we desperately require.
If you are, if you're the people running, if you're the guy running numbers, you should be subject to a higher authority, moral authority than other people. So this is, and this is different as well. So yes, it's different.
I personally think that what was done in
let's revamp because actually the empire wasn't so bad. And
because they
have I think that goes, that actually this is why these cases are significant and they should be different because they take us to questions we've still got to resolve.
But was anyone remotely convinced by Lee Johnston's argument that this would happen? Black Brits today, there are many problems for black people in Britain, there are problems in the education system, there are problems in the performance, there are problems in the employment market, and the idea of having some sort of moment which would really be about disinterring the past is going to be removed. Yes, I think we all regretability.
And don't you think we
and then we go
quite a lot of this, and don't you think there's quite a lot of
I think you are, but I don't think I am the same way.
British opinion, there's quite a strong streak that says really, generally speaking, that there's a pretty balanced account and actually there's nothing wrong with British
Well, that's the thing you want to think. That's what people have come to us. I don't think there's people who think
For decades, we've heard nothing. For decades, our children have been taught nothing other than the empire was uniquely dreadful. And it is the administration, under the administration of Richard Sutton Cornwall, that's what happened to the British national curriculum. That's what that's exactly what happened. The empire was uniquely bad. So, all I'm talking
On this note of mutual admiration,
just talking about what you're saying, this man is there I my foot.
Look, that's it. This is from Alan Mercy, Critics, and Adam Cowboy, Matthew Tennant, and the Anthony at the same time.
You can get more information on how to download Moral Maze from Radio 4 website. Now, it's time for Forethought. Live from Ottawa gives a personal view in front of an audience of the RSA in central London. The presenter is David Petit.
8 years ago, there weren't a lot of people whose ideas were as welcome in the Middle East as they were in Georgia, which is white. Tonight's speaker,
Oops, yes, this is my fault. So justice should be served.
Justice. Well, this is about justice, or not?
They use too much force.
They use too much force. That's against Britain that did not do anything wrong.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right.
Sorry,
Yeah, well, they did the right thing, but they used too much force. This is tiny. This one. So I'll tie up the main.
I think this here is because of the convention.
That's tie up the main things.
because they shouldn't be, they're like commercial, see recreation.
Oh, small, yeah. Wait a minute, 8. Shall we leave this and Chris takes over our current 20? 21. 9. Oh, wait a minute, shall we take it away? We're doing it. Maybe we can give this to you, wait. You didn't get reparations from Germany. You have something about reparations there on that side. No. 11.1, 11.5. So this is before the 11.1, I think. 11.7. I mean, you can use this one. That's not good enough. Then is this
topmost thing? I suppose that would be so this is there's an article analogy floating around here somewhere, and this is a critique against it. Where is it?
Which argument?
Was
The Nazi German?
Yeah. So where's the argument from analogy? Because this is
There's somewhere an argument from an argument Nazi Germany.
I've got so right, Germany gets reparations in Germany, recognition of the Holocaust.
So yeah, what we've got here, Chris, is that the first third witness didn't seem to draw much of a distinction between the British Empire and the Third Reich.
okay, so that if you can mark that as an argument for analogy and give me an enthemy for, well, actually no, we can just use nothing good happened under Nazism. No, we need to mark it explicitly. Nazism is different.
Nazism is different from the British Empire.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, forget it. Sorry, it's here. It was said explicitly.
Okay, never mind.
Do you that connect to this one over here?
Yeah, and if I chuck this at you and you just give it, put in a conflict for it, yeah?
Which way?
From this guy, do you want to see if you can pass that way?
And put in an analogy.
Yeah.
We should try and box this.
Whoever got that is to delete.
So it's saying it wasn't so bad after all. It's against Britain didn't do. This is the reason for saying Britain did not do anything wrong.
Take that away.
Say well, that's been balanced. I wouldn't go as far as saying this, nothing terrible was done. He said, yeah.
That's all.
Well, it's got first she says this, and then she says this. It's 4-1, 4-4.
Yeah.
And then it's literally again, so it's 53.
That argument for analogy, leave that as a premise.
Do you still have the argument for analogy here?
Yeah, I took them over there. So the 14 notes connected to the original.
This one, that's it there.
Yeah.
It's up.
Yeah.
The analogy's on yours.
Big?
I think so, and at that end. Good enough. This is another counter.
Topsy daisy.
I want to do some of the main themes.
Somebody got education still over?
That's good. Well, it was like a tiny little,
To work on the national curriculum, which will then power back.
yeah. No, everything but the end was that. Or wasn't that? It was being taught that math and other.
So where the other, do you know where the current government is and limitations? Do you know where the current government is? The current government should be more accountable.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. Can you do have these attack each other?
This is just a start of discussion.
I think you've got it. It's something.
Yeah, I think you just want to close up, just solicit something. Okay, you don't need to close it up.
I think you put it down quite a few. Yeah, I think you put down accidentally try to put in. Let's close a few of these.
Okay,
down.
that's it.